Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us at this NHS virtual event, and thank you for listening in on the Heimdal walkthrough. So today I'll be taking you through a little bit about how we can strengthen the NHS cybersecurity with Heimdal, but mainly actually we'll be talking about how you can leverage XDR as part of your security technology. So with that, let me crack on to the next slide. Which is then a little bit about me. I'll be kind of formally introducing Simon later, who's here to join us as part of the call. And hopefully we can keep all of you awake this afternoon, stretch it till the end of the day, but we'll try to move at pace and keep it very exciting. First of all, a little bit about Heimdal. Heimdal is a business, the biggest organically built cybersecurity business in Europe. So we're servicing more than 15,000 customers worldwide today, and of course a large chunk of those are coming out of the UK market. With Heimdal, kind of security unification lies at the heart of what we're doing. So that's also what we're going to be talking about today. And the key objective there is, of course, to give you guys more time on your hands as you kind of work with cyber. I think you all know kind of this day-to-day routine where you get engulfed in daily problems rather than having the strategic view, and that's what this is all about, basically keeping that strategic view across the estate. So continue moving at pace. So we'll also leave a little bit of time for Simon. Just kind of recapping why we're all here and what's worth talking about. So I'm sure you all keep up with the news, especially as your colleagues across the other NHSs get attacked or have a critical problem. But just bringing to the top of mind, of course, that the NHS is highly exposed, and you're a kind of a prime target, or you are kind of a right target as well for most of the attackers for a number of reasons. So as we dive into those, let me kind of recap what we see and why. Also, if I was a cyber attacker, why I would target the NHS. First of all, you store a lot of records, a lot of digital patient records, which of course include a lot of monetizable data for an attacker. So that's a prime target to go for. Secondly, downtime is not an option. Clearly, you can't have people not being able to be embedded into hospitals or kind of be nurtured. So downtime is not an option for your estates. Hence, you have to maintain a 24/7 operation, which also means that you're seeing ransomware attacks in abundance, and those are kind of coming through in high volume because, again, you're primed to be paying out the ransom if something goes wrong. You'd all say we have the backup, we can roll in the backup. Sometimes that also fails, so that's just a critical concern for you as a cybersecurity manager. And then, of course, the patient priority. Patient has to go first. It's not really the cybersecurity that should be at the center of the NHS as a whole, but clearly it's a good, strong backbone to have in there. And Simon, when you're back, if I hear you, by the way, just speak out so we can check your audio. But I will let you know once I hear you talking. So moving forward, I just want to share some data as well from our backend. So across the some of the NHSs that we probed, we just share some anonymized data here, but I think it's highly relevant for you guys to get some background about what's actually going on across other estates, which I'm sure will extrapolate kind of exponentially across all of the NHSs. I believe there are 215 in total. So we share some data here on screen now. What we see from just 2 NHSs is a tremendous amount of suspicious kind of traffic going in and out of those environments. 3.3 million, that's just from the past 3 months. This is roughly across 20,000 devices, but clearly the volume is through the roof. If you then look at the attacks thwarted, bear in mind this is across 3 months, then clearly that's about 25 attacks per device just across 3 months. That's a tremendous volume. So lots of in and outgoing traffic from these estates, and a tremendous amount of attacks that you have to combat every day, which clearly in its own right is not possible by a person there. I see you being unmuted, Simon. Just checking if you want to say something so we can check if the audio is working. And maybe you are saying something. But
I'm not on mute.
Great, you're not on mute and it's working now. So
I've never been on mute.
Very odd. It was showing the icon as muted, but anyway, it's working now. So just stay where you are, and we'll get back to you very shortly. And thank you for your patience, Simon. So moving forward, another vertical that you need to consider, of course, is not just the network side, but also from the NCSC, you'll be kind of pushed to do your patch management. Clearly, it's not a requirement, or at least to my knowledge, not a requirement for Cyber Essentials within the NHS today, but it's seen as something that is very prudent to do. So just again, across these two customers, 20,000 devices on a 3-month basis, we've delivered 152,000 software updates to them, and 13,000 vulnerabilities, critical vulnerabilities, have been closed. Again, I'm just trying to display the volume. The volume is immense. It's impossible for you as a CISO or an IT admin to cover these immense volumes that we're talking through here. So kind of navigating through the vast attack surface, just highlighting a few. Of course, you have your network perimeter, endpoints, physical security, people, the supply chain, social engineering, IoT. The list is very long and impossible to cover single-handedly. Simon, just a slight bit of background noise coming from your end, so maybe you're moving around. But anyway, I'll continue. So again, just highlighting that covering all of this gap is. Let me just see if I can mute you there, Simon, because now it's a lot of background noise. Then I'll unmute you when we get to the end. Actually, I can't. So if you, yes, perfect, Simon. Thank you very much. So then moving forward, again, just recapping that the attack surface here is uncoverable for all of you. So we then bring Heimdal into the field. Of course, this is a bit of advertising, so hands down that we are advertising here. So the first bit was to give you a bit of background data. This bit is clearly just to tell you why we think it's more beneficial to use a product coming from Heimdal. And let me talk you through that. First of all, we have the widest suite in the entire cybersecurity suite, globally. So we have the widest cybersecurity suite globally, which gives you the most comprehensive protection. Because it's all in one place, that also reduces complexity. A lot of vendors will claim that. I think that it's really to get to see and use the product to actually get the proof in the pudding, because you really do get a lot of reduced complexity by leveraging the stack as one kind of unified offering. We do call it one platform, one kind of total security. And that means you just get everything in one place, which also helps you with the compliance point, which is of course very, very necessary in the NHS as a whole. And you've got the NCSC bringing down your necks as well. So that's a high level. Then diving a little bit into it, a bit of background. I mean, Heimdal is a 9 years kind of 9 years strong business, lots of background, lots of intelligence gone into the product. Got numerous endorsements, FBI, NSA, the Danish cybercrime police, etc. So the list is very long, and just call out before I move forward, call out these kind of recommendations on the right as well. I mean, numerous accreditations across the board. But again, I think the key point for you as a kind of estate manager is the unified posture that you can gain from the platform, which I'll dive into a second, because I think understanding that is, of course, absolutely crucial. There's lots of benefits coming from kind of having everything in one place. Kind of visually, you'll see a little bit about what it looks like on the right, but I wouldn't really call that out. The key thing with the Heimdal platform is really that the more you put into one bucket, the easier it makes it for you to kind of drive your focus in the right area, because the platform also offers an automated risk scoring across any of the modules that we offer. Bearing in mind that the NCSC again has these kind of 10 steps to cybersecurity, which are kind of the key guideline for the NHS. Of those 10, we cover 7 of them within one platform. So I'm sure you heard from a vast number of speakers across the board, account managers, etc., presenting you about their individual solutions. You'll see a lot of those solutions in one place here. And that's really, again, what it's all about. It's about giving you more time to operate the platforms that you have at hand rather than buying in more platforms, which also reduces the administration overhead, of course, on the back end of cyber as well. And diving into that, just a little bit about the platform again. It's the widest cybersecurity stack available. It's wider than Microsoft. It's wider than CrowdStrike. It's all in one place. It's DNS, it's patch management, and actually let's just move into that now. So you have them here, kind of on the network security side, endpoint security, vulnerability management, privileged access management. So that's right management on desktop, email security, threat hunting. It all kind of flows into this one unified stack where we can also offer to manage all of that on top for you, which of course gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility, but it's also very, very easy to manage, which hopefully Simon can also divulge a little bit about later on. We are all about easy adoption and easy usage of the platform. And if we then focus on the NHS pieces here, again, highlighting a couple of these on the left in detail. I don't have time enough to go through all of it in detail, unfortunately, but a couple of the key modules for you, DNS security, again, being a recommendation from the NCSC. And then, of course, the vulnerability management piece being a high requirement from the Cyber Essentials piece, even though it's not required to do. It's definitely frowned upon if you're not doing it. And again, all of this is in one platform. It's one agent. You can pick and choose what you want. So you only start with what you want to use. And this just showing all of the capabilities that we have. And these are kind of features outlined. So right, I'd start from the left with the key ones for the NHS, DNS security, vulnerability management, of course, moving a little bit about to the right, rights management on desktop, email security, and then the threat hunting piece where we provide extra telemetry on top of your existing AV as well. Again, all of these are kind of recommended to do, and 7 of 10 of them are on the NCSC 10 steps to cybersecurity guide. Then moving towards the end, so we'll hand over to Simon shortly. This is a free complimentary protection pack. You can scan the barcode on your right-hand side with your mobile phone. I'll just leave it here for a second. But hopefully you'll take the opportunity. This will give you access to a Heimdal protection kit, which you can use at home. You can also use it in the office, but it's only a few licenses. So I'd suggest you use it at home and give it a spin. It is the consumer version of the product, so it's not really representative of the enterprise version, but it's more to a gesture of good faith. And thank you for listening in here on the call. And then we get on to you, Simon. I see you're unmuted again. So from here, just checking your audio.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
You're coming through loud and clear. Again, thank you for joining me on the call, Simon.
No problem at all.
So I hope you could maybe give a very brief introduction to yourself, a bit of background, and then I can hopefully ask you a couple of questions from here.
Yeah, certainly. I'm the Information Assurance and Security Manager at Northumbria Healthcare. I've been with the Trust for 30 years, moved into IT beginning of the 21st century, kind of year 2000 time, and got this security job 2 weeks before WannaCry, so that was exciting.
That must have been very exciting indeed. And generally, I think your problem is the same as many here. It's quite stressful working at kind of NHS security because there is a lot on all the time. Estates are big and budgets are small, which kind of guides me into the first question. Could you just talk us through a little bit about your experience with Heimdal as a customer?
Well, we first saw Heimdal maybe 18 months ago, and we were really impressed by the impact it could potentially bring to an organization like ours. As everyone's seen in the last few minutes, there's quite a range of security measures within the tool set itself. And some of those we already have in place, but the endpoint threat protection stood out for us as something quite distinct. And the staff on the calls that we had were very helpful and knowledgeable. I've got 2 team members who are notorious for taking nothing at face value. Whenever we're having a demo, they will stop the demo, they will ask questions, they want to get right down to the nitty gritty, to the mechanics of the product to understand what we are being offered. And the Heimdal team were great. They're on the ball. They knew their stuff. They could answer the questions. If there was questions they couldn't answer, they would take them away, and we got answers back very quickly. And the product really stayed in my head. And when I had an opportunity to bid for some funding for something that could make a rapid, tangible difference, the Heimdal endpoint prevention came straight to mind. And the fact that there are these additional components that we can bolt onto the same agent install really provides an opportunity to enrich the protection capabilities when the time comes to look for alternatives for some existing tools that we have. We were just really, really impressed with what we saw.
Thank you for that, Simon, and thank you for the praise as well. So can you also then, as you said, your team being quite, I wouldn't say critical, but let's see if we find a more nuanced word, skeptical of salespeople, especially is maybe a better word for it, which is good. Can you just talk us through the implementation when you actually decided to make the purchase as well?
Yeah, another one of the reasons that appealed was really the speed at which we could get a real tangible difference deployed. We had the usual tussles with our ops team about it being yet another agent on the endpoint, but for most of the security people on this call will know the endpoint is where you can do some of your best work. So we won that argument. It was another agent out. We rolled it out in a passive mode to ourselves first, and then to the rest of the trust, just to get the agent out there within a couple of weeks, just because of our change control process more than anything. And we turned on an active policy for ourselves, and the plan had been to roll that out gradually over a couple of weeks across the estate as well. But a partner organization of ours went into a period of increased cyber risk. So we thought, no, we're just going to turn this on now. And we were able to turn it on across the board within minutes. When we decided to make that decision and put the policy live, it was live across the estate. I mean, any hold-ups in the implementation were entirely down to us. We'd lost staff, so we're low on resources. We were trying to do a few projects and had to interleave them all. And while there wasn't any pressure from Heimdal to move more swiftly, if we had been able to move more swiftly, you guys were able to move at that pace as well. So we got it out there really, really quickly and could see tangible results straight away. And compared to some of the other projects we were working on, it was as near instantaneous as you could get. It's cloud management environment's all cloud based. So while we were going through all the procurement stuff, you had that all ready for us. We didn't have to build anything; it was there. All we had to concentrate on was the policy design and getting the agent out. So really, we could focus completely on delivery. And it was just our lack of resource at certain times and the change process we needed to follow that introduced any real delays to the point of commissioning to us having full coverage.
Great to hear, Simon. Final question. I'm just conscious of the time. Kind of how has your day-to-day then been post-implementation since you started using Heimdal? Smooth or cumbersome or?
It's been new to us, so there's been some stuff we've had to learn and get to grips with, but we use it on a daily basis. One of the team juniors goes through the alerts and digs into anything which needs special attention. The fact that we've got an alert means we know Heimdal's blocked it, but we don't just leave it at that, because that could be a sign of something bigger happening. So we like to drill into it. I admit I was a little bit skeptical a while back on DNS-based protections, because it does nothing if it's a direct IP connection.
Correct.
But I believe the recent global research seems to suggest that hosting command and control systems and other malware hosts on specific IP addresses is getting harder and more limiting for the bad actors to do, because they can't move them around. It's fixed. So domain name address sources are getting more prevalent, not less. And we've certainly seen daily events which are directly blocking attacks, but also indirectly helping us to tune other parts of our defenses. and say, well, we should have stopped that hitting before Heimdal, so it's something else. We could tune something else before it even gets there. There's alertness to stuff that might be slipping through elsewhere and where we need to tighten up. I'd really recommend people to have a look at Heimdal, take the demo call, take a proof of concept. We certainly found that it gave us a different perspective on our endpoints and gave us something we could really work with to make a difference.
Thank you very much for sharing, Simon. That's of course for me super valuable, but I hope also valuable for everybody else on the call. And just recapping before we get Sean chasing me down on time. I mean, I think the big benefit here is really it's a single agent, it's all unified. It covers anything from DNS to vulnerability management to antivirus, firewall management, desktop rights management, a lot of the stuff you heard from other calls here. And then the real kicker is it rolls all that up into a unified risk score of your estate and your endpoints, so you can get a really centric overview. So I'll leave it at that. Sean, I'm sensing you're coming back online. I need to stop the sharing here.
I'm right here, gentlemen. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, hear you perfectly.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you for a great session there. We've got a few questions, so I won't mess around. We'll go straight into those and then we'll get moving on. So the poll is on the screen now. Delegates, by the way, please do get involved in the poll for further conversation with Morten and the Heimdal team. So questions, chaps. Collaboration and integration of security tools often emphasized in enhancing, resilience, cybersecurity resilience. So could you elaborate on the challenges that healthcare organizations face when they're using separate siloed tools and how XDR can address these challenges really quite efficiently?
Simon, you want to give it a go or should I?
Well, I can only talk really about the frustrations we have where one tool comes up and suggests something's going on with the device, and you basically going to cut and paste the IP address or the machine name out of that tool and paste it into another one to get that tool's view of it, and piece together the evidence. Having something like a SIEM helps pull things together, but the SIEM doesn't necessarily have all the context and complexities that an individual tool has. And having to build all that together from separate tools can be really time consuming, particularly when something looks like a massive threat in one tool, but it takes you a couple of hours to establish from the other tools that actually it's an anomaly or it's just something that looks like a risk. Or conversely, yes, it is a risk and you've just had to spend two hours trying to find that out. So integration and a multiple view of the same asset in the same console is invaluable, really.
Yeah, and I have to echo that. I mean, I think Simon hits it spot on. The fact, what you really get from an XDR platform, whether that's Heimdal or something else, is really you save an abundance of time, which is really your limiting resource. And there's only one way to get more of it. That's to kind of get more efficient tools. I would say though, the only benefit with Heimdal is, again, it's the widest stack out there, and it provides a lot of unique security tools. So I think people should really try it.
Definitely sounds good. Well, how can healthcare professionals stay proactive, and adopt their XDR and strategies when emerging threats and, effectively, essentially considering the unique challenges in the healthcare sector? How do people keep a tap on that?
Again, you want to go first, or shall I give it a spin?
Well, it is difficult. I was on a podcast earlier this week with other regional security NHS managers, and out of the 4 of us on the call, I was the only one that's got a team. They were all the individual security representatives for their trust. Yes. Our director is really good here. He's got good buy-in with the board. They understand the need to drive and stay on top of the security. Everything we do in the department should be about security and availability. That's all the innovation. But that takes a lot of work and a lot of business cases and working with the board. And some trusts are just not at that stage yet. Some are way ahead of us. It's about getting the organizational buy-in, really, that this is important stuff. And I know I've heard from some people, I think, at NHS England and from some vendors that really trusts that weren't impacted by WannaCry or any of the big ones, there tends to be a view, quite elevated view in the organisation, that means they're fine and they'll never get hit by anything because they weren't hit by that.
Yeah.
And as we all know, and as Morten mentioned earlier, or your previous caller, actually, everyone will get hit at some point. All you can do is minimise the risk and minimise the risk of it happening and minimise the impact when it does.
Yeah.
And that's got to come from the top down, really, because of money and resources that need to go into making that happen.
That's it. People need to take it seriously. Morten?
Yeah, and I think that, again, spot on. I mean, it's about driving it in the boardroom, and again, it's about making sure you have the tools that to help you do that. If you have a tool that can easily show your Cyber Essentials compliance status, what is the risk level internally, and how is your exposure, then I think you're well on the right track to getting more year time in your NHS Trust boardroom. To be honest, so that's certainly my recommendation to everybody here. Make sure you get yourselves the tools that can help you show that, and then I think it will bolt on very, very quickly from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would underline that. Say you need the resource as well. You can have all the tools you want, but if you're not using them effectively, if you haven't got people using them, tuning them, and working with them, they're not going to help unless they can take action like Heimdal can and do something at the time.
Get it
Heimdal
done.
stops things.
Yeah. Well, chaps, just going to say it's been an absolute pleasure, chaps. So really, really enjoyed that one. We will get the slide shared with the audience afterwards as well, and we'll also signpost further information from you both so people can get in touch. But Morten, Simon, absolute pleasure, and thank you again.
Thank you, Sean.
Cheers, chaps.